Welcome in, everybody, to the High Noon Stream here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. I am Pugs Moran. We do this each and every day, Monday through Friday, noon till about whenever we finish. Typically, we shoot for 2 o'clock. But I've been warning you guys. I gave you plenty of lead time for this to prepare ourselves for what's about to happen. It's summer rules. We got summer rules. I got the kid in the other room. So there are going to be some days missed. And by the way, when I say days missed, I don't count, the last couple of days. It's 4th of July weekend. Everybody was missing a day. It wasn't just me here. But shows might be a little bit shorter. Typically we go 2 hours, sometimes 2.5. Hell, we've gone 4 hours, depending on what's happening in the day and what we have to talk about. But like today, I'll give you this. We're going to run through the show today. We probably won't go a full 2 hours. As I said, summer rules, summer hours. We got a kid in the other room. But here's what we do on the High Noon Show. We give you everything that is trending. We give you the headlines. We give you the hot topics. We give you the things that are being buzzed about. If people are talking about it, if it's something that's happening in our world today, I give it to you in nice little bite-sized morsels. This is, by the way, the first of 2 streams that we do every day. We come back at 9 p.m. Central Time, and we do something that's a little different than this. I always like to say this is a utility for you. This show is designed to get you all briefed up on the day, tell you everything you need to know about this particular day. Then at 9 o'clock, we come back and we do something called Pillow Talk. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk. I am the Pugs in that equation. James Parker is the other half. We get together at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, and that's more conversational. That's just me and James. Certainly, sometimes we talk about current events and all that as well, but mostly it's stupid. So there you have it. Those are the 2 shows that you have every day right here streaming live on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. You got this one at high noon, Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. And then we've got the Pillow Talk show, which comes on at 9 p.m. Central Time. And that's an hour. That's a solid hour. Sometimes I might go a little bit longer than an hour, but James is always like, gotta go. So he's out. Appreciate the hour that he grants us. All right, let's look in the chat room. Let's see everybody. Joel says, I sound sick. Do I? Do I sound sick? It's been a hell of a weekend, Joel. It's been one of those, it was crazy. We were lake rats. We were out at yesterday. Obviously, we're going to be talking when we get into the trending topics about the events of yesterday. Would have been a type of situation where, as I tell you, by the way, follow the show. Click like, click follow, get yourself the alerts, because when big breaking news happens, it is my intention to jump on and stream live so that we can all figure it out in real time. We can watch the information unfold. That's one of the things that I wanted to do. Yesterday would have been an opportunity for that, but unfortunately it was 4th of July and we were out at the lake and I was far away from the studio. So I apologize. But that is something that you might want to do. You might want to follow the show, click on the show, the alerts on YouTube, Facebook, however it is that you consume this offering, and you'll be alerted. You'll get a little alert when we're going live with something like some kind of breaking news. Do I sound sick? I don't know. It might just be my voice. It might just be from, screaming over boat engines and all of that all weekend. Al is here. I'm surprised that you didn't start one after the high. Well, that's what I'm saying, Al. Yeah, I would have broken yesterday and done, but I was out on a boat. I was like, I can't stream live from here. By the way, it'd be bad taste. Me sitting out there with a drink in my hand on a boat while kids jet ski behind me and talking about something terrible that went, not good. Not good form. Jeff is here. Hi, Jeff. Jeff is here. Joel's here. Cheryl's here. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Pug, she says. It is a rainy and gloomy day here in Saskatchewan. Well, you're still in Canada, and Canada is wonderful. Al's here, Jeff's here, everybody's here. All right, so let's get started. Let's jump right in with the show. As I said, the little monsters and then the room over there. I suppose I have some 4th of July stories that I can share, but maybe we should run through the nuts and bolts of what the show is first before we start waxing poetic about our weekends. It is the High Noon Show for the 5th day of July, year of our Lord 2022. It's the 186th day of the year. and 179 days remain until the end of the year. First thing that we like to do on this show is we like to tell you all the history of today. What made today so cool? What made today so sad? What made today so whatever? We run through the events of the history of this day, July the 5th, like this. I'll give you an example. In 1937, Spam was invented. That's right, on this day in 1937, the luncheon meat Spam was invented by Hormel Foods. Hormel Foods. I thought it was a war food, right? Wasn't that where Spam became popular? Because it was like a meat that you could, I don't know, ship halfway around the world and people could eat it in foxholes or whatever. It was came in a can. That is what they say the popularity of Spam here in the general public is from returning war veterans who developed a taste for it. And if any of you were raised by an old man who was a product of the greatest generation, you'll know they love Spam. And then they all passed away and went on to whatever's next. And now we don't really eat Spam anymore. I don't even know that I could tell you what Spam tastes like. I don't know that I know that I've had Spam because my grandpa used to make Spam and eggs. He loved it. But I don't, it was fried. It was like a red loaf meat. I don't know. Whatever. Happy birthday, Spam. On this day in 1946, Micheline, we'll call her Micheline. That sounds prettier. Micheline Bernardini. That's a good name. You tell me, hey, Pugs, I set you up on a blind date. Her name's Micheline Bernardini. I'll go, ooh, she sounds very exotic. Micheline Bernardini, on this day in 1946, models the very first bikini at a swimming pool in Paris. That's right, Bikini Day. It is National Bikini Day. Saw a lot of bikinis at the lake. Saw a lot of people not wearing bikinis at the lake. Saw a lot of people not wearing bikinis at the lake who, I don't know, maybe moments before were wearing a bikini at the lake. Oh, God, I'm telling you. I tell you, the older I get, the more I just get repulsed by the behavior of young people. And I know I was a wild young person myself. And still, come on, grow up! Dumb kid. On this day in 1954, Elvis Presley records his first single, "That's All Right, Mama." That's the one he did. He went in, he did it as a birthday present for his mom. He went over to Sam Phillips Sun Recordings, and he scraped together all of his savings from being a truck driver and a handyman, and he ended up cutting a song for his mom. And Sam Phillips was like, Okay, we can do something with this. On this day, 1954, Elvis records his first single, "That's All Right," for Sun Records in Memphis. On this day in 1971, the 26th Amendment to the United States Constitution is enacted. 26th Amendment, no idea what the 26th Amendment is. Remember, we Americans, we only know two. We only know two amendments. We know the first one, which is free speech, and we know the second one, which is get all the guns you want. That's it. That's all. We tap out after that. We're like, yeah, that's it. We don't need to really know any more amendments. What is the 26th Amendment? Well, it lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. Until 1971, I don't think I had realized this. Until 1971, you had to be 21 to vote in America. Didn't know that. Just kind of assumed it had always been 18. But nope, it was lowered from 21 to 18 in 1971. Which is interesting, too, because Nixon was president when this went on. And I guess now that I'm forced to think about it, I don't know the makeup of the Congress at that time. Like, I don't know if it was, and maybe it wasn't quite as divided as it is now. Like now we say, what is the makeup of Congress? And you go, well, there's this many crazy people on the right and they're against this many crazy people on the left. And they never the twain shall meet. There is no negotiation. There is no compromise to be found anywhere. It is just a vast moat filled with alligators and piranhas between them. I don't know if that was necessarily the case in 1971. I think people worked with each other. So the reason I find this interesting is because Nixon had a problem with young people. Nixon had a real issue with younger voters supporting him. So that's why I wonder, in 1971, when Richard Nixon was president, they lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. That wasn't good for Nixon. that was allowing 18-year-old anti-war protesters who didn't want to be drafted into the Vietnam War, suddenly allowing that gigantic, formerly non-existent voting bloc to exist. That had to have been a problem. I don't know how that went down. Not so interested that I'm going to look any further into it, but that's just my thought on it. On this day in 1975, Arthur Ashe becomes the first black man to win the Wimbledon singles title. Arthur Ashe. That's a sad story. Arthur Ashe died. He died of it was AIDS, I think. I think Arthur Ashe died of AIDS. And he got it he was sick. He had what did he have? He had some disease. There was some he had AIDS, but the AIDS developed. Blood transfusions. He got it surgery, heart surgery, maybe it was. I think he contracted the HIV virus that then turned into full AIDS that took his life. I think he got it from a heart surgery, a blood transfusion. On this day in 1994, Jeff Bezos founded Amazon. So I just hope that Jeff Bezos has a list of names of people back in 1994 who basically shit on his idea. Because there are always going to be people. I'm an idea man. I don't know if you know this about me. I'm an idea man. I have ideas. And here's something that I have learned over the years. You may have a cadre of buddies who you trust infinitely with your life. But a lot of times you can't trust them with your ideas because you might have a buddy, you might have a great idea, and your buddy is just, I don't know, he's irritated at you because you slammed his car door too hard the night before or whatever, little chips that buddies carry around. You can come up with a great idea and you can share it with the wrong buddy and it kills the idea. Because it's so, I'm hoping Jeff Bezos has a list of people, a list of names who in 1994, when he said, I got this idea, I'm going to start selling books out of my garage, because that's what Amazon started out as a book distributor. I hope he's got a list of names of the people who said, that's stupid. That'll never work. I'll tell you, the older I get, the more I realize I don't have any idea what will and won't work. There are things, I see things out there in everyday life that are just massively successful new products that have been introduced into our world over the course of the last 20 years. I don't get it. I'm like, I would not have invested in that, but here we are. Now we have VR porn. We'll talk about that. That's something that's trending a little bit later. So that was on this day. Jeff Bezos founds Amazon, which I believe largest retail, not retail, but largest, largest company in the world. I don't know, something like that. Amazon's big. That's all I know. And I know that I've got an Amazon Prime membership. And, I always tell my stories about how I got a Whole Foods right down the block and everything at Whole Foods is so expensive. I realized that everything at Whole Foods is actually, in line with what you'll get at a Kroger or a Walmart if you're an Amazon Prime member. Did you know that? If you're an Amazon Prime member and you shop at Whole Foods, it takes like 50 cents off everything. So there you go. Amazon Prime membership has its privileges. On this day in 1996, Dolly the sheep becomes the first mammal cloned. Scotland, right? Where Dolly was from. Years and years ago, I saw a thing. I don't know what it was, like maybe a news report on the process that ended in us getting Dolly the sheep, the cloned sheep in 1996. They made a lot of mistakes. Like Dolly was like the 15,000th attempt. She was not the first try. They didn't succeed on the first. Like they were born inside out and they were born without organ. Oh, it was a mess. There were just clones that were just completely untenable clones. What happened with Dolly the sheep, though? How long did she live? I think this is the big important thing, right? Dolly the sheep was born in 1996. They called it a successful clone. When did she die? 7 years. She lived 7 years. That is successful cloning. 7 years of successful cloning, especially a sheep. Like, how long do sheep live? Do we know? Is that the 7 year? Okay, here we go. Here, I'm just going to do it like this. What is the lifespan of sheep?
lifespan of a sheep is between 10 and 12 years.
10 to 12 years. All right, so Dolly didn't have a full life as a sheep. But she did all right. So there you go, Dolly the sheep. Born on this day in 1996. All right, let's go into some birthdays. Celebrate some birthdays. People celebrating birthdays today. Born on this day in 1943, Canadian singer, songwriter, guitarist, producer, and actor Robbie Robertson, famous of The Band, famous of Robbie Robertson albums. Happy birthday, Robbie Robertson. Born on this day in 1950. Oh, kidding me? Don't be sleeping on this guy. This guy, one of my favorites. Of course, I come from the 80s, as I like to say. So happy birthday, Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis. How old is Huey Lewis? 50, 60. Oh my gosh. Really? Huey Lewis is 72 years old today? Man. Huey Lewis. There he is. Oh. So during James's monologue, James Parker, during Pugs and Parker's Pillow Talk, James does a monologue. So I imagine there will be a Huey Lewis joke in there. You know, if you listen to the Pillow Talk show, you know James' format for when aging rock stars celebrate birthdays. He takes one of their famous songs and then he adapts the title to to someone who's old. Like, for instance, he might say, "Happy birthday to Huey Lewis today." I'm not saying he's getting old, but he's changed. But he now has a song called "I Want a New Erectile Dysfunction Drug," something like that. I'm telling you, that's the prediction I'm going with. I'm going with it's going to be an erectile dysfunction drug for Huey Lewis. Happy birthday, Huey! Born on this day in 1963, a sleeper American treasure. A sleeper American treasure. This lady is becoming an American treasure. She is. I give her another 10 years and it'll probably be undeniable. Edie Falco. Edie Falco, ladies and gentlemen. Carmela Soprano. Well, first of all, man, I go deeper on Edie Falco than as Carmela Soprano. Oz. I remember I used to love Oz on HBO. She was a prison guard in Oz. That's the first time I ever saw her. So you got Edie Falco Oz. You got Edie Falco Sopranos, Carmela Sopranos. Iconic role. So good as that. But I'll give you a little pro tip. If you're going to... I hate to say this, especially since we're honoring someone who I've just designated a future American treasure in Edie Falco. Pro tip for you, if you are going to be watching maybe for the first time or re-binging The Sopranos, here's my re-binging pro tip for you with The Sopranos. And again, I hate to do this. If you're binging the full series run of The Sopranos on HBO, not for the first time. Let me amend that. If you're watching for the first time, if you've never seen The Sopranos, just watch the series. But if you've already seen the series, pro tip. Whenever there is a scene with Edie Falco in either... Okay, actually, here's the hard and fast rule. If you're binge watching The Sopranos and there's a scene with Edie Falco and a man who is not Tony Soprano, fast forward. Just fast forward through that. Means nothing to the plot. They just tried to develop her character, give her a little bit of a, dramatic twist to her. And, what is she unfaithful to Tony? And what does that mean if, you're cheating on a woman and her husband's a crime boss? That whole fast forward to that. Stuff means nothing. Other pro tip. If there are any time Tony Soprano is sitting in the therapist's office, anytime he's talking to Dr. Melfi, anytime at all Tony Soprano is talking to Dr. Melfi, just fast forward through that. If you've already seen it, if you've already watched this, you know about what's going on in Tony's head. The true beauty of The Sopranos has nothing to do with the therapy. It has nothing to do with what's going on with Carmela's, housewife, day in, day out life. You don't need that stuff. Just all the other stuff is important. But don't fast forward through all of Carmela. Carmela's got some stuff. You got to watch Carmela. Carmela's interactions with Tony are great. Carmela's interaction with her other, mafia friends is great. But again, hard and fast rule. Anytime Carmela is in a scene alone with another man, be it a priest or a handyman or the pool boy, or just fast forward. That shit doesn't do anything for the plot. It doesn't mean anything. And especially if you've seen it the first time, just fast forward through that garbage. And also any scene with Dr. Melfi. Anytime Tony is sitting in the therapist's office, just hit fast forward. Just go through that. That doesn't matter. That's personally, they could have dropped the whole Dr. Melfi subplot. Season 2, season 3, you could have dropped that and just gone hard into the whole what it's like to be a crime boss kind of thing. But they didn't. And hey, I think it's the greatest show that's ever aired on television. So even if they did make a mistake in that area, in my estimation, it didn't really do much damage because it is a great show. Happy birthday, Edie Falco. I just tore down your life's work, but I do think you're a treasure. Nurse Jackie. She was Nurse Jackie. She did everything. Happy birthday, born on this day in 1964. A guy that I'm a bit of a nerd for, Ronald D. Moore. Ronald D. Moore. Do you know who Ronald D. Moore is? Television producer, television showrunner. He's the guy that rebooted Battlestar Galactica. Now, those of you who go back with me, you know I love me some Battlestar Galactica. We just talked about The Sopranos. I put Battlestar Galactica somewhere in my top 5. I don't know. It's been years. Battlestar Galactica once occupied the number 1 slot in my favorite television show of all time. And I'm not talking about the 70s version with Lauren Green, okay? I'm talking about the 2000s dark, gritty reboot of the fate of humanity in Battlestar Galactica. Oh, such a good show. Ronald D. Moore, he's the guy who said, we can remake that really stupid show from the 70s and we can make it really good. And he did it. So happy birthday to you, Ronald D. Moore. Look, RZA is celebrating a birthday today. R to the Z to the A. RZA, 1969, born on this day, American rapper, producer, one of the founders of the Wu. Huh? Yeah? Okay. Wu-Tang Clan. Look, let me give you credit for it. I grew up a white kid in the suburbs. I was in the punk rock, alternative rock, and all that kind of stuff. There were, and we're talking about in the emergent days of hip hop. So like late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, before it became what it is now. It was big, it was growing, but it was, it was a burgeoning scene that people say, it'll never last. Hip hop will never last. They say it with rock and roll. They say that with all that stuff. Wu-Tang Clan was the first hip hop, I'm going to call it an outfit, because they're not like a band so much as a way of life. I mean, they're just, they were the first hip hop band to my punk and alternative sensibilities that I went, well, I'll give you this. They were the first hip hop band that I ever bought a CD of, that I ever went to back when we still went to record stores, were the first hip hop CD I ever bought. So happy birthday to you, RZA. RZA. RZA, American rapper, producer, actor, director, Wu-Tang Clan. Megan Rapinoe, born on this day in 1985, American soccer player. She just got like, didn't she just got like some kind of like Congressional Medal of Freedom or something? She just got something. Why? I mean, seems like a cool broad, I mean, I got no issues with her. She's interesting. She's opinionated. I like that. I like anybody who's willing to share an opinion. But why? But I don't know. Whatever. She just got some big award from the United States government. I don't know. Maybe she's doing stuff that I'm unaware of. That could very easily be the case. I don't know. Who else? That's it. That's all for the births. So let's do some deaths. Quickly run through some deaths on this day. These are some notable individuals who passed away on this day in history. Sid Luckman died on this day in 1998. Who's Sid Luckman? Oh, shut up. What do you mean, who's Sid Luckman? You mean who's Sid? Only one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Never heard of him. Yeah, you wouldn't. Because he stopped playing in like 1950. Seriously. Okay, so you all know I'm a Chicago Bears fan. Here's how pathetic quarterback play of the Chicago Bears has been. And by the way, the Bears are the oldest team in the NFL. No, they're not. The Cardinals are by 1 second. The Cardinals are the oldest team in the NFL by 1 second. And it's only because the Chicago Bears owner, when they were doing the charter for the first NFL, George Halas was holding the pen in his hand. And instead of just signing it first as the Chicago Bears being the first team, he didn't know the NFL was going to be this big. He didn't think it was that big of a deal. George Halas, as a show of friendship, handed the pen over to the owner of the Chicago Cardinals. See, back then, the Chicago Cardinals were the team. They moved to St. Louis and then now Phoenix, Arizona, wherever they are. But they had been battling over territory, the Chicago Bears and the Chicago Cardinals. And as a show of sort of kindness, George Halas had the pen, was about to sign the charter to become the first person to sign the NFL charter. And he handed it to his crosstown guy and he said, please, you do the honors. And that's the only reason why the Cardinals are the oldest team in the NFL. Stop it. But back to my point, Sid Luckman died today. Bears being one of the oldest teams in the NFL, Sid Luckman, who stopped playing in like 1950, is still our greatest quarterback of all time. Dude stopped playing like 70 years ago, and they still haven't had a quarterback that was better than Hall of Famer Sid Luckman. I tell you, it sucks being a Chicago Bear fan sometimes. But we got Justin, so fingers crossed. Let's hope. He looked damn good last year. Potential, terrible team, but he looked like he's got something. If we could give him some players around him, maybe, just maybe. I'm not saying it's a sure. I'm just saying we have hope. Also dead on this day, another professional athlete, icon, legend, superhero to some. Ted Williams. Ted Williams died on this day in 2002. Remember they froze his head? Wasn't that a thing? Wasn't that like when Ted Williams died, his family like cryogenically chopped his head off? And I don't know what the deal is with Ted Williams' head, but there was a band called Ted Williams' Head. I always thought that was funny. There was also a band called John Denver's Head, but that goes back. Maybe even the Ted Williams' Head band name was a play on the band John Denver's Head. John Denver, sunshine on my shoulder, 70s songwriter, really sort of milk toasty, whatever. John Denver was flying an experimental aircraft and he crashed, and they found his head. It's terrible. I laugh when terrible things happen. They found his head. So that inspired a band, I believe a Southern California punk rock band, to call themselves John Denver's Head. And then we had Ted Williams' head because they froze Ted Williams' head. Also dead on this day, another professional sports icon. I don't know. Certainly a guy of some notoriety. Bob Probert. Proby. The goon of all goons. Bob Probert died on this day in 2010. Probert played the bulk of his career for the Red Wings. Well, I know he played for the Red Wings, won some cups with the Red Wings. And then he became a Blackhawk. And then I don't know. Probert was sort of like the Dennis Rodman of the NHL. He was always getting in trouble. He had some issues with some chemical dependencies. He liked to drink. Look, that's not saying much because I have a theory. I've known a number of hockey players through my days of working in media and sports media and all that kind of stuff. And I have a theory that every hockey player from Canada is a borderline alcoholic. Check it out. Just check it out. I believe that just about every hockey player who comes from Canada is a borderline alcoholic. Bob Probert was a full-blown alcoholic. Bob Probert had some real issues. Dead on this day in 2010, Proby. Dead on this day in 2021, Richard Donner. Richard Donner, filmmaker, born in 1930. Richard Donner made a lot of really cool movies. So here, let's run through these. We're not going to do a Richard Donner draft, but let's see. Let's just give you an example of some of the films that Richard Donner. Superman, the 1978 Superman. That was pretty good. I like that. Lethal Weapons, right? He did those. The X-Men. You got the X-Men movies off the ground. Where's his full? Does he have a full? I'm looking for a full, like, what else did he do? He did Superman, he did Scrooge, The Goonies, the Lethal Weapon series, Conspiracy Theory. Hey, remember Conspiracy Theory? Remember that movie with Mel Gibson and I want to say Julia Roberts? Remember that movie came out and it just like totally trashed everybody who was into conspiracy theory. Like you saw that movie, you were like, oh, people who are into conspiracy theories are crazies. They're nuts. And now here we are like 25 years later. And like conspiracy theories are just mainstream. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a normal person now. That's how tilted the world has become. All right, Richard Donner, dead on this day. We hardly knew ye. All right, let's get into the stuff. Let's get into all of the things that are trending today. As I said yesterday, this happened as we were preparing to head out for the lake for our 4th of July on Lake Louisville celebrations. And I started to get my alerts. You know, I have all my nerd scanners that let me know when like some sort of major police activity is occurring somewhere in the country. And I blew them off. I blew off the alerts because I didn't have time. And I thought, oh, what? Did a fireworks factory explode? You know, it's 4th of July. I expected that's what the alerts were about, something like that. Although, you know, living in the world that I do live in today, I should have expected that there would be something much darker than just a fireworks warehouse explosion in Ohio or something. So then my friend texts me. And my friend in Chicago, who lives near Highland Park in Chicago. And by the way, that's what's trending. Highland Park is trending. Now, you guys know that we do this show from the One Percenter compound here in beautiful Highland Park, Texas. So I live in Highland Park. And so I was running. I had run out. We were getting ready. Come on, get your shoes on. Make sure you got all your stuff. Pack your bag. You know, when you're getting ready for like a day out at the lake. And my son hadn't eaten. So I'm like, okay, let's run to McDonald's. There's McDonald's right up the block. Right at the end of the block, we got a McDonald's. I go, we'll run to McDonald's. I'll get you an egg and muffin. We'll throw it down your throat. You'll have that until we get on the boat and we start eating, 4th of July food. So as I'm driving to the McDonald's, I get a text from my friend Mike. And he says, hey, what do you think of this situation in Highland Park? Now, Mike knows I live in Highland Park, Texas. And I looked at it and I was like, huh? What are you talking? So I blew it off. There was no situation. I was in Highland Park. There was no situation going on in Highland Park. I'm in a McDonald's drive-through. What's going on here? There's nothing going on here. I said there's a cop sitting right there across the street. He ain't no hurry to go anywhere. He's fine. So I didn't know what he was talking about. So then I texted him, and he was like, "No, dude, Highland Park here." And then I looked at my alerts, and I saw what we all know to be the tragedy of the Highland Park, Illinois 4th of July parade. 6 dead, 30 wounded. Okay, so why is Highland Park trending? Because there's obviously a couple of trends that are concerning this subject, so we'll run through them really quick. Highland Park is trending because it's a suburb of Chicago. It is a suburb of Chicago, and people are just such ghouls. People are just, typical Chicago. Well, let me tell you, folks, Highland Park is not typical Chicago. Okay. This didn't happen in Chicago. This happened in Highland Park. And if you want to take something terrible that happened in Highland Park, Illinois, and just apply that to all your Fox News bullshit about the city of Chicago, which, by the way, Google search murder rates, Google search crime rates, go ahead. It's easy. You'll see Fox fucking News is lying to you. Chicago isn't even in like the top 20 of the most dangerous cities in America. That would be St. Louis. That would be St. Louis. That would be Baton Rouge. That would be Detroit. Chicago doesn't even rate. It's fine. It's fine. But because, and don't kid yourself, the reason Chicago as a city is so demonized by crime is because it's the hometown of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. That's why it's a target. Don't think these people know what it's that. It's bullshit. It's all done to manipulate you so you don't know what's really happening. It's nonsense. But my point is this. If you're going to use the situation that occurred in Highland Park as a political cudgel to get your crazy little points across about how awful Chicago is, then every time something bad happens in Fort Worth, you better be prepared to have Dallas take it on the chin. If something happens in Fort Worth, okay, from now on, typical Dallas, that's what happened. It's just not fair. Highland Park, Illinois, is ridiculously wealthy. Highland Park, Texas is ridiculously wealthy as well. But Highland Park here, I'll give you an example of just so you know this area and why it's so And what does this say about us? Why it's so shocking? Because people who are familiar with the area, I was born and raised in the Chicago area, so I'm familiar with the North Shore. I'm familiar with, although I am a South Sider, I'm familiar with the North Shore. I'm familiar with Highland Park, familiar with Winnetka and all of that kind of stuff. Oh, hold on a second. There we go. Let me just make sure we pull this up. There it is. I lost my train of thought. Cup of coffee will get it back for me. Okay, so people are trying to blame Chicago violence on Highland Park. It's not it. Highland Park is you all know Highland Park. You do. You know, if you've seen any American movies made by John Hughes or anything, you know Highland Park. Highland Park is essentially the setting for everything from Risky Business to Ferris Bueller's to well, here there's I'll give you an example. In popular culture, this is the Home Alone house. Although people are like, that's not actually in Highland Park. It's in Highwood or wherever. Whatever. It's the same neighbor. You know what I mean? It's the same chunk of land. Don't get into me with arbitrary borders. We are talking about a region. We're talking about an area where people feel safe. And that's, again, so it's acceptable that this could happen in a place like Oak Cliff, South Dallas, or someplace like Compton, but suddenly you're shocked because it's happening in a rich people. Yes. Is that right? That we don't have an even disbursement of violence across? I don't. What do you want me to say? It is when you think of the quintessential American town on the 4th of July. Well, you don't think of Highland Park because Highland Park, again, is very rich people. But you would think that this can't happen here. And I know we say that about everything. Every time it goes down, this can't happen here. But, you had the shooting in Buffalo, the tragedy that killed all those people while they're just out shopping on a Saturday at a food store. You had that in Buffalo. That happened in an area where there's crime. There's crime in that area. And, Uvalde, Texas. Uvalde, Texas. You had the school shooting, and we look at that, and we're like, okay, that's very rural gun culture. Maybe not great access to medical, mental health treatment, and all that. Okay, so but when you talk about Highland Park, you're like, wait a second. You mean that this kid didn't have access to round-the-clock therapists? You're telling me that this kid, from the time that he was in 5th grade, there weren't teachers and school psychologists at his fancy dancy schools that he went to that went, you know what? This kid is a little bit. That's why people were a little bit about Highland Park. Because again, we didn't see that scene in Home Alone. We didn't see the scene in Home Alone where Kevin McAllister went to the 4th of July parade and got gunned down on the corner in front of the CVS, right? We didn't see that scene. A couple of the other things you may know in popular culture. The Ben Rose house. The Ben Rose house is a very famous house. It's famous now for a much different reason. It was an architectural work of art. It's the Ferris Bueller house. Remember the house where they drive the car off the glass? The car is in the glass enclosure. Cameron, right? Cameron's dad's house. That house, that's Highland Park. Highland Park is the location of the main characters from the former CBS drama The Good Wife. So if you watch The Good Wife on CBS, they lived in Highland Park. Highland Park was used for location shots for several movies written and directed by John Hughes in the 80s, including Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weird Science, 16 Candles, Uncle Buck, and Home Alone. Now think about all of those movies, okay? Think about how quaint, how peaceful, how safe, how all-American those settings were. Uncle Buck. I mean, here's what I noticed. When I was watching, those houses are all kick-ass. It's like the Home Alone house. You know how much that Home Alone house cost on real? That's a $3-4 million house. Anyway, my point is this. They were depicted as like, everyday American, but they weren't. Those people in those movies are wealthy because it was all shot in Highland Park. Highland Park is very wealthy. Let's see, with other popular films shot or partially set in Highland Park, Illinois include Ordinary People, Risky Business, and Lucas. You guys remember Lucas? Corey Haim, right? Lucas. Lucas here. Okay, so yeah, I remember Lucas. So do you remember in Lucas where there was like an amphitheater in the town, and they would go through the tunnels, and they would hang out at the amphitheater. That's Ravinia. That the amphitheater is Ravinia. It's on Lake Michigan. It is an outdoor concert venue that kind of like a Smirnoff Center or something, except 1,000 times classier. It's like you ain't going to see a reformed warrant open for poison at Ravinia. You know what I mean? You know who you're going to see at Ravinia? You're going to see Celine Dion. You're going to see Pavarotti. Is he alive? I don't even know. You're going to see that kind of stuff. So it's fancy dancy. It's just a very fancy dancy kind of area. Some people who are from, I always like to do this. Some people who were from Highland Park, Illinois. Okay, let's run this down because that always gives you a good idea of like the cut of the jib of the people who are there. Academics and scientists. No, we don't need that. Arts and entertainment. All right. Alex Borstein is from Highland Park, Illinois. Alex Borstein is oh my God, she's Seth MacFarlane's muse, right? So if you watch Family Guy, she's Lois on Family Guy. She's all that stuff. Rachel Brosnahan is from Highland Park. Rachel Brosnahan is the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Who else? Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, lead singer and founder of the Smashing Pumpkins, born in Highland Park. Let's see, who else do we have? Anybody else? People I know. Not that like you wouldn't know him, but like, do you guys know who like Brett Gelman is? Brett Gelman's an actor and a comedian. He's very funny. I like him. Sebastian Maniscalco says here, born in Highland Park. Richard Marx. It don't mean nothing. Richard Marx, born and raised in Highland Park. Ken Olin, actor, born and raised in Highland Park. Robert Reed, Mr. Brady, born and raised in Highland Park. Ben and Fred Savage. Ben Savage, The Wonder Years. Fred Savage, Boy Meets World. Born and raised in Highland Park. Gary Sinise, born and raised in Highland Park. Grace Slick, Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane. Born in Highland Park. Harold Ramis, the great Harold Ramis, lived and died in Highland Park. I don't know if he was born there, but I know he was born somewhere around there. Gene Siskel, born and raised in Highland Park. Orson Welles. What? Orson Welles is from Highland Park, is he? Where is he born? Oh, he was born in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Okay, so that tracks because Kenosha, Wisconsin is like pretty close to Highland Park. I didn't know that. I didn't know Orson Welles was born in the Midwest. I just assumed that he's like a coastal elite. All right. So anyway, this conflation of like Highland Park with what we see from crime and gang violence that occur in the neighborhoods of Chicago and all of that, South and West Side specifically, totally different worlds, completely different worlds. So Highland Park is trending because people are fighting about whether or not Highland Park is actually Chicago. And I will say this. If you were born and raised in Highland Park and you were out at a bar in Aruba and you met a couple from California and they said, "Where are you from?" and you were born and raised in Highland Park, you would say Chicago. You would say, "I'm from Chicago." Just like if you're from Grapevine, right? And you run into somebody in New York City at a restaurant or something and they say, "Where are you from?" You're not going to say Grapevine, You're going to say Dallas, right? So to that degree, yeah, it's in the Chicago metro area, but it's like 25 miles north. I mean, it's like, if you're going to blame Highland Park for all of the if you're going to try and equate the violence in Highland Park with typical Chicago violence, then you better do the same for Frisco. Every time something happens in Frisco, you better say, "Dallas, typical Dallas. That's what they do in Dallas." It's not the same. They're different worlds. Oak Cliff. Okay, Oak Cliff and Frisco, the area around the Star Center, not the same world. They might be in the same part of the world, but they are not the same world. All right, so there we go. So that's why Highland Park is trending, because people are still arguing over where exactly Highland Park is. Bobby Crimo. Let's talk about this F-stick, huh? Bobby Crimo. Have you seen this guy, the shooter? Have you taken a look at him? Here's what we know about Bobby Crimo. And one of the reasons we're a little bit late getting on today, we started about 10 minutes late today, it's because I was watching the press conference. I got a little bit behind on time because I had to watch the latest update from the police press conference on the shooting that occurred yesterday in Highland Park. Again, 6 people are dead, 30 were wounded. Of the 30 who are wounded, I was listening to Chicago Talk Radio this morning. They say 5 of the people who are wounded are in very serious condition. I don't, forgive me, I don't remember the exact term that they used. It wasn't the typical like critical way, but the impression that was given was that we're not out of the woods as far as the people who have passed away from the shooting, as there are still people in the hospital, and some of them are seriously injured. So fingers crossed. If you're a praying man or woman, give a shout out to the God of your choice, and put some good energy out there for these people, because there's people that are not out of the woods. And although we know that the 6 victims were all grown adults, we do know that some of the victims who are in the hospital are children. Bobby Crimo climbed on top of a building. There is some debate as to which building it was specifically. It looks like it may have been a bar and grill type restaurant at an intersection where the parade was crossing by. He climbed up on the top of that. He had a rifle. Police are only saying that he had a high-powered rifle. They are not giving out the any more specifics on that. He was dressed as a woman. This freak show was dressed as a woman so that he could then take off the women's clothes and blend in during the chaos that ensued after his shooting. So he climbs up to the top of this building dressed as a woman. He's wearing a wig. He's wearing a sundress. He's wearing such a weird kid, such a weird freaking kid. Not weird. I'm sorry. That's a bit downplaying. What a monster. What a little monster he is. Climbs up there. He starts 15 minutes after the start of the parade. He began firing on a portion of the parade which featured, are you ready for this? It was called the Bikes and Pets section of the parade. And it was comprised of a bunch of little kids on bikes with their pets. Bunch of little doggos, bunch of little kids on their bikes, probably walking with their parents. And this is the portion of the parade that he decided to open up on. Now, again, we don't know many specifics concerning the wounded. We do know that the 6 who are deceased are all grown adults. Does that mean that 3 of them are 18? I don't know. We know that one of them, what was his name? Toledo, Grandpa Nick Toledo. That's but an old grandpa drove halfway across the country so that he could come and spend 4th of July with his grandkids and take them to the 4th of July parade. And go, here it goes. Getting a little waiver. You hearing that? Yeah, it's so sad. Bullet in the head. Grandpa's dead. Died right next to his granddaughter. Right next to her. She's holding his granddaughter's hand. His head explodes. Okay. So let's get back to Bobby Crimo. Bobby Crimo fancied himself a rapper. He went by the name of Awake the Rapper. And have you seen this kid? How is this? They say that he was known to police, and you better believe he was known to police. If a kid looking like this is running around the streets of Highland Park, Texas, you better believe the cops are taking notice, because this kid looks ridiculous. He's got tattoos on his face. He's got multicolored hair. He would go to, okay, all right, So another one of the big debates going on, and this is such a nauseating debate. The minute details came out about this kid, of course he had YouTube channels. Of course he had hip hop songs that he had uploaded on Spotify. Yes, he had social media. Those are all taken down, within an hour of them announcing who the person is. But there was enough content that was taken from his social platforms before YouTube and Facebook and all that just shut it all down, that, we've got a pretty good idea of who this kid is, right? So, so here's what happens in this moronically divisive culture that we have here in America. I don't know what's going on in Europe, but in America, we are a moronically divided nation of people. So immediately, he's a Trump supporter, which is followed by hashtag not a Trump supporter. Why does this matter? What? This is a crazy person. Why are you trying? If you are anti-Trump, or even if you're pro-Trump, why are you trying to somehow score points for your side? You ghoul, you monstrous individual. Why are you even concerned about how this crazy person votes? What? Stop it. Stop with he's a Trump supporter. Look at him. He's got all of these pictures on his social media of him wearing, a Trump flag. And, he has rap lyrics where he talks about. Stop it. Stop it. We don't know. Nobody knows. Here's what we do know. We do know that his father was a big Trump supporter, but this kid doesn't look like he had a good relationship with his father. I mean, you look at this kid and you go, this is not a kid that's going to ball games with his old man. This is not, so that means nothing. You're telling me that because he's 22 years old, you're telling me that because his dad is a Trump supporter who ran for mayor of Highland Park on a pretty fanatical platform. His dad was pretty. His dad's got some YouTube stuff out there. His dad was far right. His dad was a far right Q guy. I don't know that just because we know that about his father, I don't know how we look at this kid and go, yeah, he probably has a lot in common with his father. I don't know. I don't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But here's how weird this kid was. This kid had a bit where he would go to Trump rallies dressed as Waldo. Like, where's Waldo? There are pictures. You can see the pictures. They're all over the place of him being in the crowd at Trump rallies dressed as Waldo. It's the weirdest thing. This dude is a weirdo. And whatever his politics are, it doesn't matter because he's a crazy person. Why would you? He eliminates himself from any serious political conversation because he's a crazy person. It doesn't matter who he supports. It doesn't matter who he votes for. He probably thinks the moon is made of cheese because he's a crazy person. So stop it. Politics have nothing to do with this guy. He's a crazy, face tattooed, pink and purple hair, dressing like a woman with a rifle, killing kids on bikes and their pets. That's who this son of a bitch is. Nobody should give a shit about, he's not political. His father was. His father was political. His father ran for mayor, and his father has some pretty crazy stuff out there. But we will see. His father's also a business owner, owns two businesses in Highland Park. He owns a deli. They own a deli, and I didn't get any specifics on what the other business is. The mom is a holistic healer. It's such a weird hodgepodge. And this is why you can't say, well, this person's a holistic healer, so they must be a liberal. Or this person believes in the Second Amendment, so he must be a crazy far right. No, we're all somewhere in the middle. We're all some kind of hodgepodge stew of all of these different. Nothing applies to the right or left anymore. There are people on the right who have some very left-leaning ideas. There are people on the left who have some very totalitarian ideas. I mean, stop it. You cannot just simply look at a party in this country anymore and go, okay, this is what these people think, and this is what these people think. Because quite frankly, nobody knows what anybody thinks anymore because everybody thinks everything all the time at once. It's just, I had a conversation. I don't want to go on. I was going to say, I had a conversation with somebody this weekend who just kept contradicting themselves. They would say, we don't need to go. No, I don't want to go into it. So Bobby Crimo, 22 years old, Awake the rapper. He climbed up, shot people at the parade, climbed down, took off the dress, ditched the wig, left the gun up on the roof. Then he blended in with the crowd as everybody was running around. He blended in with the crowd, and you know what he did? He walked home to his mom's house. Now, the way they said he walked home to his mom's house led me to believe that maybe mom and dad were no longer together, but I don't know. Walked home less than a mile away to his mom's house in Highwood. Highwood is like the next little town over. They're all crunched up pretty good there in that area. Walked home to his mom's house and then asked to borrow her car. Mom didn't know anything about it. Mom had a Honda Fit and she gave him the car. And then the chase was on. It was very shortly after that the police realized who he was. And it was in North Chicago. North Chicago is a suburb. It's not like north side of Chicago. It's probably 30 miles away from Chicago, but it's a town called North Chicago. Police officer in North Chicago stopped him at an intersection. There's video of it. You can see it. He got out of the car with his hands raised, laid down, arrested without incident, which has got a whole bunch of other people upset because that's another thing that's trending today. You're familiar with the name Jayland Walker? Jayland Walker is trending today. Jayland Walker was a dude, I don't know, like 25, something like that. Young dude, young black dude. He was a DoorDash delivery driver in Akron, Ohio. This happened last week. He was pulled over by police. All right, so here's what we know about the Jayland Walker situation. Jayland Walker was being pulled over by police in Akron, Ohio, while he was working for DoorDash. And he was being pulled over for what they said was an equipment violation. So taillight out or, something like that. And he didn't stop. He fled. He ran from the police. Finally ditched the car after a few miles of a police chase, ditched the car, got out of the car, and started running away. As Jayland Walker was running away, 8 Akron police officers fired 90 shots at him, striking him 60 times as he ran away. So why do I say that this is trending alongside the whole Bobby Crimo thing? Because, of course, people are like, stupid and completely intellectually disingenuous. Oh, a black kid who's delivering food for DoorDash gets shot 60 times, and the guy who climbs on top of a roof and murders a bunch of people at a 4th of July parade, he gets arrested without incident. Well, yeah, when you put it that vaguely, I mean, I guess that does sound like the guy who shot 6 people probably should have been the one you would think was, dead in a hail of bullets from police and not the guy who was working for DoorDash. But, there were a lot of moving parts in both of these stories. So, for instance, there was no need to shoot the Bobby Crispo kid because he got out of the car voluntarily with his hands in the air and he laid down on the ground. Jayland Walker was running away. Now, that's not an excuse to shoot somebody. You can't shoot somebody for running away. But what it does is it at least, the cops who shot a guy running away 90 times, they fired 90 times. Obviously, there's a problem there. But my point is, it would have just been flat out execution murder of an incredibly high profile suspect in this Bobby Crimo case if they had just shot him, right? He gets out of the car with his hands up and they just put a bullet in him. We would have all loved to have seen it. Got no problem with that. That's fine. But there were moving parts to both of these stories that made them different. So this whole disingenuous, the black kid gets shot. Stop it, you race baiting. Stop it. Is there a problem with what occurred with Jayland Walker? Oh, yeah. I've seen the video. If you've seen the video, there's a real problem with that video. But, let me just say that if those cops are still in uniform today, that city's going to have some problems. Those cops, at the very least, need to be suspended pending further investigation. The people in Akron, Ohio are demanding that the names of the police officers be released. Can't do that. I understand the desire for, it's a bloodlust, really. Give me their names. But you can't do that. You can't just give the names of these cops so that thousands of people can descend upon their homes and, do what we don't mob justice is not a thing. So Jayland Walker, here, we'll pull this out to you just to give you. There are a whole bunch of conflicting stories concerning the Jayland Walker situation about muzzle flashes coming from the car. Was he armed? Was he not armed? Here's what we do know. He was not armed when he was shot 60 times in a hail of bullets by 8 Akron police officers. He was not shot. The officers say that they saw muzzle flashes coming from the car. I don't know what that means. We'll probably have to hear more about that. But he did not have a gun when he was running away and shot. There are reports that a gun was recovered from the car, okay? But so what? Second Amendment. Ohio, you can have a gun. He's a DoorDash delivery guy. He should have a gun. So a law-abiding dude with a gun delivering food. I mean, I guess law-abiding is a little bit me reaching. I don't know. I don't know what the history is. But, I mean, it's interesting how, when some people get in trouble for having a gun, there is a group of people who will be like, "Whoa, Second Amendment, he has a right, he's a legal gun owner." But in this case, they're using the fact that he had a gun in a state where it's legal for him to own a gun and to carry a gun, and certainly a reason for carrying the gun. He is a food delivery driver. Although, having worked in the restaurant game not too recently and dealing with the whole food delivery situation, it's not the same as it was 10, 15 years ago. There's no cash. The delivery drivers aren't running around with a whole bunch of cash in their pocket. 20 years ago, you rob a pizza guy, maybe you get a couple $100 that he's got in his pocket from all the deliveries that he's done. That doesn't happen anymore. Everybody pays on a card. Everything is done digitally. The delivery drivers, why are you going to rob a delivery driver? A Grubhub? He probably got nothing. Maybe he's got a couple bucks in tips. You going to take his tips? Dickhead. What a dick move that would be. But all of the big money that, these guys used to run around with cash in their pockets because everybody paid with cash. That's not a thing anymore. Most people just pay with their debit cards online, and the food comes, and there's no exchange of money. Police in Akron, Ohio, who fired more than 90 shots at a black motorist earlier this week, killing him, said they would release video of the shooting as the city braced for protests, this according to reports. So this story is 2 days old, but it gives you the background on it. They did release the video. The video is crazy. Jayland Walker, 25 years old, died after being hit more than 60 times. The video is expected to be made public on Sunday. I think it was made public. Was it Sunday or Saturday? I'm not sure. It says here, you see 2 different officers deploy their tasers. You don't notice it, but you learn later that's what happens because tasers don't make a big bang sound. All of a sudden, without warning, and for no reason that I can discern, this is an attorney for the family, and for no reason that I can discern, he's talking about the video. There's no hand gestures, there's no stopping, there's no turning, there's no motion, there's no anything. Jayland Walker seems to be turning over his left shoulder to look at the police chasing him when the gunfire erupts. So the kid is running. I probably shouldn't use that word either so the guy is running. It's dark. The body cam footage, if you've seen it, is it's disturbing, but not really helpful as far as getting a whole bunch of information. Because the body cam that I saw is apparently attached to an obese police officer who's huffing and puffing, and he's running, and the camera is shaking, and and you can't really see, and it's dark. What you can hear is the gunfire. You can hear the pop, 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 pop. 10 seconds. We counted it. We were listening to the video in the car, me and E, and we counted it. We said, how long does it take to fire 90 shots? We counted 10 seconds. 10 seconds is what it took for cops to unload 90 rounds, 60 striking 25-year-old Jayland Walker. Akron City officials have canceled all their 4th of July events. Walker died shortly after leading police on a 4-minute chase that ended just after midnight Monday. He was killed when he jumped from his slow-moving vehicle and tried to run away. Police followed and initially used tasers that missed him. Police say that Walker fired his own gun during the chase that at times reached more than 80 miles per hour. They said they later found a gun and a bullet casing inside Walker's 2005 Buick sedan. A police officer had tried to stop Walker a day earlier after he noticed his car had a broken taillight. What does that mean? I wanted to drill down on that a little bit. A police officer had tried to stop Walker a day earlier after he noticed his car had a broken taillight? What do you mean tried? What does that mean? What do you mean a police officer tried to pull him over? Was the cop sitting there on the side of the road, saw him go by, noticed whatever the infraction was, and then went, "Oh, I'm pulling this guy over." And he went to flip the lights and the siren and they didn't work. And he went, "Oh, well, guess he gets away." What do you mean tried? What is that? I need to know more about that. Fucking bullshit. What do you mean? You mean sometimes cops just try to pull people over and then, they just give up? Well, I guess I'm not pulling. Cops pull over people intentionally. They pull them over. They don't try to pull people over. You pull someone over. I don't understand that. I thought that was an interesting way that they put that. So there have been protests now in Akron, Ohio. People are marching around. It's a very troubling situation. We want the community to know about that chase. Here's why. He walked home from that chase. Do you understand? He lived to tell the tale, and that's exactly what should have happened here. There's no reason to kill him. None. All right, I don't know. I don't know what that's all about. But all right, so Jayland Walker. That's why Jayland Walker is also trending today. So we got Highland Park. We got Bobby Crimo. Although, why do I keep calling him Bobby Crispo? I don't know, Crimo, Crispo. Haltom City here. A little bit closer to home here in Texas is trending. Haltom City is trending because another more bullets to talk about. Haltom City on was this Saturday? There was a shooting here. Texas gunman who killed 2 people and injured 3 police officers and a neighbor. He served in the Army. He was a sergeant in the United States Army. Dateline, Fort Worth, Texas. The man who killed 2 people and wounded 3 police officers and an elderly woman in Haltom City on Saturday served in the Army and the Texas Army National Guard. Well, they're showing his truck. Oh, he's got American flags all over his truck. He's a patriot, whoever this guy is. He loves America. Now he's going to kill a bunch of neighbors and shoot at a bunch of cops because he loves America. Edward Christian Fryman, 28 years old, killed Colin Davis, 33, and Amber Sy, 32, on Saturday evening. He then turned his gun on an elderly neighbor who called 911 and then shot 3 police officers who responded. He later killed himself about a half mile from the original shooting scene. The older woman and police officers who were wounded are expected to survive. They believe they knew each other. They believe some of the stories that I've seen that maybe are not from, this comes from the Dallas Morning News. So some of the stories that come from other news sites speculate that this may have been a love triangle thing between Edward Fryman, the shooter, and Amber Sy. Amber Sy was at her house with Colin Davis. They do believe that Edward Fryman knew Amber Sy and that this may have been a love. Caught you cheating. Now I'm going to kill you or whatever. That's just one of the speculations that's out there. Could have been any number of things. We don't know. That's why Haltom City is trending today. Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner is trending. Brittany Griner is trending. We know Brittany Griner. She is the WNBA superstar. She's famous. I mean, I know the name. She was playing. Well, we know the backstory. They'll give you a little bit of background on this. So she plays in the WNBA, but she also plays in a Russian women's basketball league during the WNBA offseason. And she was over there and she was trying to come home and she was going through the airport and she had some weed. Not weed, she had vape oil. It's a newfound. I don't know if you oldsters out there, you know this now, but a lot of the kids, they don't smoke the weed anymore. They vape the weed oil, which is I'll tell you. If you're a teenager trying to get high without your parents knowing it, this is how you do it, because the vape oils don't smell. They don't smell like weed. You could smell weed from a block away. I always say that about stoners. The only people, stoners have no idea how much they smell like weed. Like if you're out at a bar with a group of people and some dude runs out to his car and we know what he's going out to the car for, but he says he's got I left my wallet in the car, dude. And he runs out to the car and then he comes back in and he stands next to you at the bar. You're like, dude, you reek of weed. And it's only the people who reek of weed who don't realize that they reek of weed. They don't. They have no idea. Well, vape eliminated that. Vape, people who are vape, and that's what Brittany Griner was doing. She had vape oils. She had cannabis vape oils as she was trying to pass through an airport in Moscow, traveling back to the United States. She was detained. This is going on months and months now. She has been in a Russian jail cell awaiting trial for, illegal drug smuggling, I guess is the charge. Brittney Griner has now penned a letter to President Joe Biden. Brittney Griner made an appeal to President Joe Biden in a letter passed to the White House through her representatives, saying she feared she may never return home. She asked that he not, Biden, she asked that he not forget about me, Brittney, and the other American detainees. There's like a number of Americans who are being held for various charges there in Moscow, Russia. Here's the problem, though. I mean, I understand she wants to get out of there. But there's big things going on. I mean, I don't know. Brittney, I'm not sure if you're aware about what's happening with Russia and the rest of Europe right now, but there's kind of a war going on, and the Russians aren't really dealing with anybody else. So, I mean, I don't know what you'd expect the president of the United States to be able to do here. Pick up the phone and go, hey, Vlad, let her go. And he goes, "Nyet." And then he goes, "Please." And then he goes, "Nyet." And then what? What do we do next? That's just, it's not a good time for, or it might be a really good time because now they've got stuff on the table. All right, we'll let her go if you stop giving aid to Ukraine. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Wrap your mind around that. One single American citizen who just happens to have a higher profile because she's a WNBA player, we're not going to bend over backwards to try and save her life at the expense of the larger mission of defending the people of the Ukraine through aid and through assistance and through all this. It's just not going to happen. So very difficult time for Brittney Griner. She might be there a long time. They have no reason to give her up. And what are we going to bargain with? Maybe we got somebody, but are we going to give up some? How important? See what I mean? This is troubling. But unfortunately, she looks like she's going to be there a while. She had a court date last week, I think it was, and then they extended the court. It's nice to know that the legal system in Russia is a lot like America. So nothing gets done in less than 5 years. You file a lawsuit in America today, and that thing can be resolved for 5 years. Even if you win, they'll appeal and you go through all that. It's nice to know that the Russian system is no more quick and effective than ours here. Joe Rogan is trending. Joe Rogan. Hey, Joe Rogan. Welcome back to the trends. Joe Rogan has not been trending in months and months and months. I mean, he was trending for a while there. He was trending every day. He was trending constantly. Boom, 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 boom. He was constantly trending. But today, Joe Rogan is trending because he refuses to have Trump on his show. Isn't that interesting? A lot of people, I've said this. I've been saying this for a long time. Joe Rogan is not a Trump supporter. I mean, Trump supporters think he is. And so Trump supporters are like, we love Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is mercilessly made fun of him, said on numerous occasions that he thinks he's a bad guy and that he's bad for this country. But it doesn't matter because Joe Rogan has a lot of takes that appeal to the MAGA base. And so they just overlook that, or they pretend like they didn't hear it, or whatever it is. But Donald Trump is apparently trying to get on the Joe Rogan show. And Joe Rogan has said without any equivocation that he will not be allowed a guest on our show. Here's what Joe had to say. I don't have it. I thought we were going to actually play Joe's words. Okay. Well, this comes from his own podcast. All right. So Joe Rogan isn't interested in interviewing Donald Trump ever. The Joe Rogan Experience is among the most popular media productions in the history of entertainment, and everyone with a message wants to sit down and speak with him. This includes the former president, Donald Trump. Hold on. Sorry. I'm having a bit of a buffering. Kid's got multiple devices open up, I think. Kids in the other room probably got like 4 different devices going. Here is the quote now from the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Here's Joe Rogan. I am not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form. I have had the opportunity to have him on my show more than once, and I have said no every single time. I don't want to help him. I'm not interested in helping him, Rogan said during a recent episode of his show. What else is this? People are complicated. Rogan's comments might surprise some people, but they don't really surprise me at all. Rogan's entire brand is bringing on interesting, wacky, strange, and interesting characters for in-depth conversations about anything and everything. If he starts bringing on politicians, he's going to be sticking his foot into a water that he doesn't want to swim in. Yeah, just stay vague with it. That's the last thing Joe Rogan or his viewers want to deal with. I'm sorry, but that's just the reality of the situation, said someone close to the sources. Now, would Rogan interview Trump? Would a Rogan interview of Trump be awesome? I'm sure it would be, but I also totally understand why he won't do it, says the same source. It makes a lot of sense for him to not get involved with Trump on any level. I mean, people... I've been saying... I remember one of the greatest Joe Rogan sit downs that I ever heard, one of the greatest episodes, was from about a little over a year, maybe a year and a half ago. And it was Joe Rogan, his interview of Dave Chappelle. If you can find the Joe Rogan interview with Dave Chappelle from maybe April of 2021, it is just 3 hours of these two men who are incredibly close friends, who are very different as far as their worldview, sitting and having a reasonable conversation. And not only is the conversation reasonable between Rogan and Chappelle, it's hysterical because they're both funny people. So it's just a really good listen. And it was in that. I mean, I remember it was over a year and a half ago. I mean, Rogan in no uncertain terms was like, yeah, no, Trump's a fool. I'm not a Trump fan. I hate when people say that I'm a Trump fan. I'm not. I believe one of the things that he said was that he said that he would have voted for Trump over Joe Biden, but that doesn't mean that he supports Trump. It just means that he doesn't like Biden. He doesn't like Biden even more than he doesn't like Trump. But of course, he's been sort of dragged into the whole MAGA thing. And so now it's official. Anyway, Joe Rogan has gone on his show and said that he is not interested, will not do it, does not want to be any part of that. So that's why Joe Rogan is trending today. Patriot Front is trending. I don't know what the Patriot Front is. It's another one of the people are saying, oh, they're the newfangled Klan. They're just. So the Patriot Front is a group of angry dudes who march. They're cowards because they cover their faces and they don't want people to see them because they're afraid to really stand and be identified with their values and all that. So whatever. But they marched in Boston and people in Boston went crazy. When I was a little kid in the 70s, I can remember like every couple of years, the Nazis, or not even the Nazis. No, it was the Nazis, because the Nazis tried to march in Marquette Park when I was a little kid. And then they got beat down by a bunch of Southsiders. They just like, get the fuck out. It was crazy. As depicted in the Blues Brothers movie. If you ever seen the Blues Brothers movie, they take the real life situation of the Nazis marching in Marquette Park in Chicago, and they incorporated it into a scene in the Blues Brothers where Jake and Elwood, I believe the claim is I hate Illinois Nazis or something like that, and they drive through. Anyway, when I was a kid, every now and again, like the Klan would try and march somewhere, and it was just like a unified voice of outrage by everybody. We all agreed. Fuck them. Fuck the Klan. What, the Nazis? What? It's 1979. We're going to let Nazis out? Well, maybe that was because the Greatest Generation, the World War II generation, maybe it's because they were still alive. Maybe it was because, those people are all gone now. And we have this comfort level suddenly in 2022 with racist organizations, and they should be allowed to march because they should. Oh, shut up. Did you not have a grandpa who fought in World War II? Do you have no real idea of how awful the fascists were? Do you not? So anyway, the Patriot Front, they tried to march in Boston, and a bunch of people got upset, but then a bunch of other people are defending them in their right to march in Boston. Let me tell you what my problem is. Let me tell you what really disturbs me the most about all of these groups. Whether you're talking about, the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, or whatever these little whatever these groups are among dudes who can't get laid, where they hang out in someone's garage, drink beer, and talk about all the people they hate. Whatever these groups are, there are so many of them now. And here's the real disturbing realization that I have come to. We used to operate in a universe where if somebody went, "I'm a Nazi," everybody that heard him say that would go, "Let's kick the shit out of this guy. Let's beat the fuck out of this guy who's claiming to be a Nazi." That was the way it always was. You took it for granted. You couldn't say you were a Nazi. You couldn't say you were a Klan member. The Klan members wear hoods because even back in the early days of the Klan, they knew that it was a pretty socially untenable position to be taking. So they didn't really, they hid their faces. The real problem with today isn't the accusations of racism. Like when you see like a Patriot Front guy and you go, "Oh, you're a racist." In years past, there was a reflex where they go, "I'm not racist, you're racist. Why am I racist? Because this is what I believe. I am not a racist." So on the part of the person being accused of racism, there was always a defense mechanism that kicked in. They knew that being called a racist in, let's say, 1995, they knew being called a racist was a bad thing, so they backed off it and would say, "I am not a racist." They don't do that anymore. There is no shame about freely admitting that you are a racist now. And I'm not saying that this is, across the board, that, everybody's comfortable with, but more and more people are comfortable with the idea that they are racist. Now, a lot more of them, God forbid, a lot more of them just embrace it because as well as I do, that there are shit tons of people who are flat out racists. We know them, whether it's our next door neighbor who talks about the ends who moved in down the block. We know that these people exist. We know that these people are out there. But now it's like there's not as much shame attached to it. There was shame. Even the people and again, we'll go back to 1995. In 1995, if you were a racist, there was some degree of social shame attached with you freely admitting that you were a racist. It's not a thing anymore. And we need to stop accusing people of being racist. That's what you just said was racist. We need to stop that because we need to understand that these people don't give a shit whether or not they're perceived as racist now. That's the change that has occurred. People are like, "Yeah, okay, I am a racist. I am." And that's a really scary turn. We had social shame attached with people who took these positions. And that seems to be completely gone. And you got a bunch of, Patriot Front. They marched in Boston. People got upset, whatever. Philadelphia is trending. There was a situation outside the Philadelphia Museum of Art last night during a fireworks display where somebody opened fire on a bunch of cops. 3 cops were shot. Hold on, let me refresh this. Let me find the most recent on this. 3 cops were shot in Philadelphia. Here's the big deal about this thing. Well, the big deal is that cops were shot. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have phrased it that way. But what's trending right now about this is the mayor of Philadelphia. The mayor of Philadelphia basically in a press conference this morning talking about the shooting that occurred last night during the city fireworks display. Said that essentially he can't wait to not be mayor. He's like, this is, he said that every single day he is just bracing for some kind of a tragedy that he is going to have to deal with. And so City of Philadelphia and the mayor of Philadelphia is trending for that reason. Mayor of Philadelphia getting real in front of cameras this morning after a shooting last night involving police officers in front of the Museum of Art there in Philadelphia. Bette Midler is trending. Bette Midler. Now, I like Bette Midler. I don't like Bette Midler. All right, let's think it through. Bette Midler isn't of my generation. Like my mom loves Bette Midler and all that kind of stuff. And she was kind of everywhere growing up. If you come from the 80s like I do, Bette Midler was in a lot of movies. She's a big movie star and all that kind of stuff. She's kind of an over the top, loud, ballsy broad, that whole thing. I like Bette Midler on Twitter. I think Bette Midler on Twitter is funny. I don't know how I ended up following Bette Midler on Twitter, but I do. And she has some funny takes. She's a funny lady. And it's not just like, she doesn't just exclusively talk about politics and stuff. Observations at the grocery store, observations in traffic. Bette Midler's a fun Twitter follow. I don't know if you want to look for somebody. And again, I'm not like a Bette Midler fan. I don't. I've never seen Beaches. I don't know. I'm not a fan. It's not like Hocus Focus. I don't know. I'm not. But she's a good Twitter follow. She's trending because of that very reason, because she has sparked outrage with a recent tweet that Bette Midler put out on Twitter. This happened yesterday. Here's the story. Bette Midler sparks debate by saying trans-inclusive language erases women. Okay. Trans-inclusive language erases women, according to Bette Midler. Now, I'm going to give you that's a headline that was pulled out. So let me give you the full tweet that Bette Midler put out there. Women of the world, she says, we are being stripped of our rights over our bodies, our lives, and even our name. They don't call us women anymore. They call us birthing people or menstruators. Okay, time out. There's more to this tweet, but time out. But I've never heard the term menstruators before applied to women. I've never heard birthing people. I've never heard that. So who is this they that you are talking about? Oh, you know what they are saying? They are now. Who's the they? Who's the magical they? Trump was always big on this. Trump always, whenever he wanted to say something that was 100% not true, but he needed to somehow make it seem like it had some credibility, he would always go, well, they are saying, or, people are saying. No, what people? Give us some, who's saying that? Because you're saying it, but aside from you, who is saying? So, Bette, who is they? Who is the they who are telling us that we have to refer to women as birthing people or menstruators? She goes on to say, people with vaginas. That's another one. She says, they don't call us women anymore. They call us birthing people or menstruators. And even people with vaginas. Don't let them erase you. Every human on earth owes you. Ooh, all right, Bette Midler. Whew. She had to know when she was typing that out that was going to get some kind of. But what was her calculus there? Was she thinking that, all right, I'm taking up for women, so women will support me? No, Bette. No. Oh, that's a terrible miscalculation on your part, Bette. Women don't support other women. That's a fact. We've all seen it. Women do not support other women. Women. What are you, a misogynist? No, I'm just a guy who was raised by women, who know women, who come around women. I have a lot of women friends. Women are not, there are a lot of differences between men and women. I personally believe that women are the nicer gender. I think that women, they can be mean, but that's only in affairs of the heart. But in general, women are the nicer gender. Men are, club, bang, boom, boom. That's guys. Women are more delicate. They're more thoughtful. They're more conscientious. They're more compassionate. There's, on the whole, there are certainly women who are broken, awful, evil skags, and then there are dudes who are super sensitive. But just we're talking across the board. I feel that women are the better gender. But they don't support each other. They're not going to. So what Bette Midler now has, in her attempt to stick up for women, she's got a whole bunch of women going, but trans people. And Bette's like, but I'm talking about us, but I don't care. It's such a jacked up situation. This is why I don't believe that there will ever be a woman president. I mean, obviously, someday there will be, but this whole idea of, the women will come out and support a female candidate. No, they won't. Women will see a female candidate and be like, look at that bitch. Who does she think it's not the same thing. Oh, Pog should be misogynistic. I'm not saying all. I'm just saying that, give you another example. I have known. All right, I'm going to take one person in particular. I'm not going to give any names. Not that you people would know her anyway, but I have one person, someone who knows I might be listening, so they might be able to piece this together. So I know this girl, and she has one friend. She has one friend that she's been friends with for like 30 years, and they grew up together. But it's like throughout the course of me knowing her, she has had like 5 different running crews. Like it's like, I'm going out tonight with Ashley and Brittany and Heather. Okay, great. And then like 5 years later, it's like, hey, we should go. We haven't been out in a while. Let's all go to this. These are my new friends. This is Amber. This is Constance. And this, what happened to Brittany? I don't talk to those bitches anymore. Guys don't do that. Guys will have their same running crew for 30 years and they'll hate one another and they'll be mad at one another for all kinds of things. But it's like guys get over it and they're like, okay, this is our crew. We keep it together. Women, in my experience, women seem to like dust off friends really. They're not as loyal. I don't know. Anyway, Bette Midler's idea that she was somehow going to get some support for this hot take, which is, I don't know if it's transphobic. I wouldn't say that there's anything in this tweet that says that she doesn't support trans rights or anything like that. I would say that this tweet is more about, the pronoun thing and how we're supposed to refer. She feels that women are being marginalized, and she's right. She is absolutely 100% right. Women are completely being marginalized. So that was, I think, what her belief in this tweet was. It wasn't necessarily to say anything against trans people, but okay, so now she's the evil trans. Now she's the J.K. Rowling of the West Coast, or however you want to do it. So Bette Midler got herself in trouble. The Hocus Pocus star scribed, "Women of the world, we're being stripped of our rights over our bodies, our lives, and even our name." Yeah, you are. And you know why? It's because you're not all in line. It's because like 50% of women out there, I don't know if it's 50%, but certainly you look at, let's take the case of women's reproductive rights. Not all women are on the same page on this. Not all women, not at all. There is probably, there's a group of women who are like, my body, my choice. And then there's another whole massive group of women who are like, Jesus says no. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Okay, if this is a women's reproductive rights issue, who you blaming, Bette? Who? It's the women who need to get together on this. Don't be talking about they and them and, trying to skirt some of the blame off on some marginalized groups like trans people. But she isn't. I should also say that doesn't seem what she's doing. Again, I'll read you the tweet that's got Bette Midler in hot water. "Women of the world, we are being stripped of our rights over our bodies, our lives, and even our name. They don't call us women anymore. They call us birthing people or menstruators or even people with vaginas. Don't let them erase you. Every human on earth owes you." All right, there you go. I like women. I enjoy women. I enjoy women's company. As I get older, I enjoy being around women more than I do around men. I find them fascinating because I'm a guy. But I stand pat on my whole thing. Women don't support each other. They don't. They're mean. They're catty. They tear one another down. And guys do that too. Guys tear each other down, but guys tear each other down in a different way. It's ball busting. It's absurdity. It's like crazy. Whereas women like do mean stuff. Like, "Oh, Ashley, I hate your haircut. That really makes your face look fat." Like they say shit like that. Whereas a guy will say to another guy, "What are you, a homo?" It's like stupid, absurd. Women are mean. I'm sorry. Women are mean. The meanest person I know on this planet. I'm not talking about a celebrity. Oh, meaner than Hitler? I don't know Hitler, asshole. I'm just talking about people I know. Meanest person I know on this planet is a woman. Quite possibly the second meanest person I know on this planet is a woman too, now that I think about it. And I know a lot of mean people. There are a lot of mean people on this planet. All right. What else is happening here? You know what? I'm going to take a little break. We'll jump into the chat room and see. Women are more passive aggressive than that, says Adam Reyna. Women are very passive aggressive. Byron, burn your bras now. Burn. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where I can jump in on this chat thread to see what people are talking about here. It may not be worth it. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. I just realized we've done some pretty provocative subjects here. I don't want to get into the police. I'm just telling you what's trending. I'm just telling you what's trending, and I'm telling you why it's trending. All right, let's jump back in. Demaryius Thomas is trending. Oh man, hold on. Cancel that. Demaryius Thomas is trending today. Demaryius Thomas, former star NFL player, had CTE. If you remember, Demaryius Thomas, was he 33, died, or was it late last year or early this year? I'm not sure. Sad story. Demaryius Thomas has passed away, Denver Broncos legend, a star NFL player. He had CTE when he died in December at 33 years old, doctors have announced. But the posthumous diagnosis alone does not explain what role football had in his quick decline. How did he die? Do you guys remember how Demaryius Thomas died? Was it like, hold on, Demaryius Thomas? Let's figure out how he died.
According to Wikipedia.
Yeah. We got you. Okay, death. Here we go. Thomas was found dead at his home in Roswell, Georgia on December the 9th, 2021, 16 days before his 34th birthday. The cause of death was a seizure due to complications of injuries Thomas suffered in a 2019 car crash. Police said that his death was attributed to a medical issue. After his death, he was diagnosed with stage 2 CTE. That's I think that, now whenever someone who plays football for an extended period of time, they do these CTE tests, right? Are we going to find out that like 100% of these guys, like the CTE is, because when CTE first started lurking around, when we first started having serious conversations about why are so many former football players not doing so great in their post careers, it was believed, at least for me, it was like rare. It's like, okay, so 1 in 10, one in maybe, and that seems a lot, maybe 10% of players who have extended careers will suffer from that. It's starting to look like, hell, I probably have CTE. I have had so many head injuries in my life. My head injuries, well, I had a therapist tell me once that my depression and the reason that I have depression and I handle it, but it was basically laid on me that this could be because of a number of concussions and all these things. I was in a terrible car accident when I was younger where I basically crushed my head, so we all, you bump your head, you get CTE. But there you go. Now it's official. Demaryius Thomas, they're saying that he had CTE when he passed away. Vegas VR porn robots. Should we jump into this? Should we figure out what this story is about? Vegas VR, virtual reality, porn robots. So there's a company in Las Vegas that is, they are delivering VR porn to Vegas Strip hotel residents. What do you call that? People staying in a hotel? I don't know. They are. So basically this little robot, like, I don't know how it works, but it's like a little robot. It's not like a Tweaky from Buck Rogers. It's like a robot. It's like a little car. It's got wheels and and drive. Apparently, you order this thing, and you're staying at Bellagio or wherever in Vegas, and sure, they got the pay-per-view movies, but maybe you need something a little bit more. Maybe you like the virtual reality aspects of pornography, which I don't know. I might change my whole opinion on both VR and pornography were I to ever experience that. Like if I were to look at it and go, wow, okay, I get it now. But as of this point, nah, Seems like way too much work. Guests at Las Vegas hotels will soon be able to order virtual reality porn kits on room service, thanks to a new delivery robot. VR Bangers is the name of the company. VR Bangers says it has teamed up with a number of Vegas hotels to offer virtual reality porn as room service. Discreet delivery robots will rock up to hotels and sneakily deliver a VR porn box featuring an Oculus Quest 2 headset preloaded with the company's latest adult flicks. Discreet delivery robots. Not a thing. No such thing as robots are not discreet. You see a robot, first of all, so it's discretion. So you don't have to deal with a human being. So, basically you'll just get this knock on the door and you'll open it up and it'll be a little robot, and you'll open up the back of the robot and you'll pull out the porn virtual reality headset, and then the robot goes away. And it goes away. Very discreet. Right. Because there's never anybody in hotel hallways. There's never anybody going, hey, look, that dude with the robot outside his room, he's jerking off to porn. He's looking at VR. Discreet? Wouldn't it be a little bit less discreet if it was a human being knocking at your door with a bag and he could just handle you? But everybody's going to know what the porn robot looks like. Stop with it's discreet delivery robots will rock up to hotels because nobody's going to notice the robot going down the hallway in the hotel. Hey, what's up with that robot? What does it do? What is that, like delivering some kind of medicine or something? No, that's a porn robot. It's not discreet. There's nothing discreet about this. Service is going to cost you $50. $50. Service costs $49.99 per day and includes a fully sanitized set of VR goggles. That's the other thing. If you're going to get into this kind of stuff, don't you want your own? I don't know how it works. The service costs $49.99 per day and includes a fully sanitized set of goggles. The company says it currently has a fleet of 5 VR porn robots deployed across Las Vegas, with many more on the way. It can't be discreet until everything's being delivered. Oh, here, I'll show you a picture of it. This is what the little porn robot looks like. You ready? There you go. Can you see that? See that guy? That's what the little porn robot looks like. So that thing rolls up. Well, the guy in 1504 has got a porn robot again. Yeah, keep telling us it's discreet. Sure, good deal. All right, that's all I have prepared for you as far as today's topic. So let's jump in and let's see if there's anything that has been trending since we signed on that we can touch on. And I know I'm missing, no, there's a whole bunch of little stuff that goes on. All right, so the Big 12 is trending. Right now it's trending number 1. The Big 12 is in deep discussion to add up to 6 Pac-12 teams. So the Pac-12 is going away. USC and UCLA, they're joining the Big 10, right? So it looks like the Big 12 is going away. So what's going to happen with the rest of the teams in the Big 12? Well, or the Pac-10, or I guess it's the Pac-12, right? I got it from the 80s. It's the Pac-10 and the Big 10 to me. The Big 12 is in discussion to add up to 6 Pac-12 teams. So there you go. That's why Big 12 is trending. Deborah Messing, Grace from Will and Grace is trending. Why is she trending? According to CNN, fake news. According to CNN, actor Deborah Messing was among dozens of Democratic supporters and activists who joined a call with White House aides last week to discuss the Supreme Court overturning Roe. Why is Deborah Messing involved in this? You know what? Deborah Messing should get involved in this after the people who should be involved in this, legislators and, activists, that kind of stuff, people who actually have. Deborah Messing gets involved in the next step when they go, okay, now we need celebrities to get our messages out. Deborah Messing doesn't need to be on the phone call with the White House. It's Grace from Will and Grace, for crying out loud. Boris Johnson is trending. He's the weird haircut dude who's Prime Minister of England. Apparently, his Chancellor and Health Secretary have resigned from his, well, what we would call a cabinet. It's National Bikini Day. That's trending. Fulton County is trending. Fulton County in Georgia. The Fulton County Special Grand Jury investigating potential criminal interference in Georgia's 2020 elections has subpoenaed key members of former President Donald Trump's legal team, including his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. I'm so over that stuff. I mean, look, let it play out. Let it. But as far as me like talking about it, Elliot Page is trending. Apparently, over the weekend, there was some kind of dust up between Elliot Page and Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is a weirdo. He's one of these weird people like Jordan Peterson. You know, it's like, no, Jordan Peterson is okay, cool, whatever. But apparently, weird people also like Elliot Page. So this is like, just a mashup of like weird stuff. So Elliot Page is an actor, and look at me trying to be respectful. That's what I'm trying to do. Elliot Page is an actor, and does he go by he or do they go by they? It used to be Ellen Page, right? Ellen Page, the actress. She was in Juno, starred in the first couple of seasons of Umbrella Academy. A delightful young lady. I love Juno. I think that Ellen Page was, and we have to say the dead name. You got to say was, right? And what are the rules with this? Because one of the reasons that Elliot Page is trending is because apparently Ellen Page was trending and people are all upset. You made her dead name trend. You are terrible. Okay, so again, we go back to this issue that I have. So you can never refer to the accomplishments of Ellen Page ever again. Do the accomplishments of Ellen Page suddenly get transferred to Elliot Page and we never, like, did Caitlyn Jenner win the decathlon in 1976 now? Like, is that like the official annals of Olympic history? Because I remember that I was a little kid. I thought the name was Bruce Jenner. I thought Bruce Jenner was the decathlon champion. But that's a dead name, so it doesn't exist. I don't get this whole thing. I don't understand why it's an insult to somehow reference the accomplishments of a name that you used to have. I just don't get it. But Elliot Page is trending because Elliot Page is now Ellen Page. Or no, Ellen Page has transitioned into Elliot Page. Wonderful. Who cares? It's not you, right? It's not me. I don't give a shit. Whatever. I miss Ellen Page. I thought Ellen Page was a darling young actress who had a lot of. I don't know. I haven't seen Elliot Page do anything, so I can't say. If I like Elliot Page the actor. I do know that I liked Ellen Page the young actress. Don't say actress. They're all actors. When you say actress, you're making a designation between genders. Oh, shut up. Oh God, shut up. You're being disrespectful. Oh, you'll know when I'm being disrespectful. I am not being disrespectful. You'll know. It says here, somebody posts on the Ellen Page thread. Ellen Page is an actual person with feelings and people who love and care for him. Good, yeah, good. I hope so. You may love to debate us, to use us to make your asinine points, to relish a sense of your own importance. But actually being a human being at the center of this sucks. Just stop. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, people are upset because apparently over the weekend, Ellen Page was trending because of some dust up that Elliot Page got into. I don't know. But that's why she's trending. So there you go. All right. Let's see what else do we have here. Look at this. It's 2:00. I said I probably weren't going to do a full 2 hours, and here we are doing a full 2 hours. Yeah, that's it. I think that's going to be it. Okay. Yep. we're gonna take a little 5-hour break, 7-hour break. We'll take a 7-hour break, and then we'll come back tonight later, and we'll do the Pillow Talk. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk for tonight. More conversational than this. Like I said, we have not a whole lot of not a whole lot going on. Just a lot of dark stuff today. I don't like the shows when we just have nothing but dark things. Let's see here. So let's get into this. There we go. Time to play the closing theme. All right. Got my kid in the other room. We got to go do summer things now. At least that's what I'll tell him. Oh, come on, get your shoes on. Let's go. We got to go. Where are we going? We're going to do summer things. Oh, cool. And then we'll just end up at the bank. And I got to go to the AT&T store. Yeah, stuff like that. Summer things. You get it. All right, folks. Appreciate you joining me here. That has been the High Noon trending topics, headlines, hot topics, all of that for today. Support the show if you can. Would really appreciate it. 2 months in a row came nowhere near making our budget. But that's okay. If you can tip the show, that would be great. Got a whole bunch of ways you can do it down there with Venmo and Cash App and all of that. Like I said, the show runs on your gratuities. But regardless of what the personal struggle is on this end, we're going to keep trying to put these shows out for you. So if you want to treat me like your bartender, treat me like your barista, treat me like your car valet, whatever, you can drop a little something in the tip jar. That would be greatly appreciated. We'll be back later, 9 o'clock. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk. Should we do Kelly today? Should I try and reach out to Kelly? I think we should. I think after the long 4th of July weekend, she might have some stories. So we might do a Kelly Moore Monday on a Tuesday because we missed yesterday because it was 4th of July night. Oh, can I offer a hot take? Can I just give you one last parting hot take? And I realized this last night. You guys, fireworks are lame. Fireworks are lame. Why are we all programmed to be like, ooh? Are we really impressed by fireworks? Is it really something that look, I've been a victim my whole life. I go to fireworks, I get excited in the moment. Ooh, it made a big loud bang, and look at all the colors. But really, when you break that down, when you pull it apart, you're like, what are we looking at here? We're just looking at things I don't know. That was my hot take last night. People didn't like it. Of course, I offered up the hot take at a fireworks display. What are you even doing here? I just think fireworks, I think we're all programmed to be like, ooh, fireworks. But then in the moment, you're out with a group of people. A lot of people are just talking. Some people are looking up, but other people aren't. We were on a boat. We were on a boat in the middle of Lake Louisville yesterday. So we were in the middle of the lake. So all of the cities that are on the lake, whether it's the Colony or Highland Village or Louisville itself or whatever it is, all of the cities that rim the lake, they do their fireworks displays on their lakeshore. So if you're in the middle of the lake, you can just kind of sit in a boat and you can watch all of these different fireworks displays going on the shorelines, from the different cities. And it was great. But I realized last night that my interest in fireworks runs as deep as the direction my head is facing. Because we're in a boat and there's stuff happening behind me and everybody's like, oh, look over there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of comfortable. I don't want to turn around. I know it's happening. I can see stuff that's happening on this side. No, but that one was really big. Turn around and look at it. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm looking over here. That was when it dawned on me. I guess I'm not a fireworks guy. Fireworks were fun when I would take my kid on 4th of July and we'd watch fireworks and he was like 5 or 6, right? He's 13 now. He spent the entire fireworks display either on his phone or sleeping on the boat. Just laid down, just at the bed. Like, all right, we're not pretending fireworks are fun anymore, huh? It's a nice community thing. Get together, do it, whatever. I'm just saying that I think we're all programmed to be more impressed with fireworks than we really are. All right, love you. See you tonight. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits podcast platform tonight at 9. Bye, everybody.